The virtual CISO moment is brought to you by vCISO Services, a leading provider of quality and experienced virtual chief information security officers for small and mid-sized businesses. Check them out at vcisoservices.com. Hi, I'm Greg Schaefer, and welcome to the virtual CISO moment. I'm here with Albert Whale. He is the founder and the CEO of IT Security Solutions. He is also the author of Hashtag Hacked and the lead author of Hashtag Hacked 2. Albert, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Greg.
I appreciate your time and sharing a little bit of both your path and talking about your books. But how did you how and why did you get started in cybersecurity?
That's an interesting question. So on 9/11, when I saw the towers come down, the planes hit the buildings, I looked at that and I said, this is an opportunity for me to get involved in securing the nation because I have 6 kids.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't do it, who else is going to do this? And right after the event happened, I got contacted by the local FBI to help them investigate the September 17th watch list. And they contacted me because I was building internet sites in Western Pennsylvania. And I knew more about the internet than the local FBI office did. So I was asked to assist them in the investigation. And when that was finished, we co-founded the Pittsburgh InfraGard Member Alliance. I was the co-founder and president. And, that was a great volunteer organization. And it still exists today. And their mission is to teach security to the national critical infrastructure, utilities, transportation, healthcare, banking, and there's a couple more. But the problem I had there was, as the father of 6 kids, 4 that was living with me at the time, I couldn't go to the grocery store and say, hey, I'm a volunteer. Can you get me food? So I started consulting, and I was consulting in cybersecurity. And that's where I got my start. I started consulting internationally, ended up working on a project for the VA and saved them $1 million in 6 months, and then moved to teaching the Air Force what is software security, rotating through all the air bases across the country, and then working on global bank systems for telling them how the hackers are breaking into their software to get inside their networks. That's all essential and informative, but I was also teaching them how to fix the problems that they had. So that's where I got my start. Good question. And I love sharing that because people don't know how to get started in this business, but I help people all the time.
Well, and that is such that's one of the reasons why I like to go down the storyline of how people get into cyber. But you had a bit of a head start because you were already in IT. You were creating internet pop sites. Is that what you were saying back in the day?
Yeah, I created the ISPs, Internet Service Provider Access Points.
Okay. So then that brought you through to doing consulting, and eventually it led you to start your own company?
Right. After consulting for quite a while, I said, this is working pretty well, but the problem is that I couldn't clone myself. As hard as I try,
I say that a lot.
One guy,
Uh-huh.
So then I started with the idea of, hey, maybe I should build a product. And the reason why I built a product is we're missing about 3.5 to 5 million experienced cybersecurity professionals. And in no time soon are we going to cover that void to support our country and protect the nation. So a product will go a long way by adding my experience and intelligence, as well as creating it with zero trust and artificial intelligence to bring it to the next level.
And so what is representative of your clients? Do you work with large businesses, small businesses, government, non-government, and just all across the board?
Practically all across the board. We're finding that small business with more than 5 million in revenue are great targets for this because normally they don't have IT staff, and if they don't have IT, they're not going to have cyber, but they're huge targets. MSPs are also very good because they have multiple clients. And if you hit an MSP, you get all of the clients all at once.
But I've heard small business owners say, well, I'm too small to be a target. I mean, what would you say to them if they said that to you?
Well, what I say to them is, you're not too small, and you provide access and information about how do you do what you do in your business, and also who are you communicating with. So if an attacker gets access to their business, they can become them virtually and assume identity and get access to their clients, their vendors, and other people that are related to maybe supporting the DoD in the National Defense Industrial Base. You know,
And that was so important that's how a lot of the attacks happened. What was it? Was it the watershed one of them, the Target attack, I think it was, that it was an HVAC vendor that they got in through a backdoor VPN or
absolutely.
something like that.
And they were
Yeah.
here in Pittsburgh, the cybersecurity capital of the world.
I did not know that. Well, I didn't mean to bring up any bad memories for Pittsburgh in case there was there. But
Oh, we've taken that with stride already with, moving steel to China. So, reinventing ourselves many times over has been something that we do very well.
I understand. I've been there a couple of times. I love the city. Now, you've taken a lot of this experience, and of course, as we mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, that you are the author of a couple. Well, you're the author of one book and the lead author of a couple of books. So the second book, the first book is #Hacked. Tell us a little bit about that. Why did you write that, and what is it designed for, and who is it designed to help?
So #Hacked includes a culmination of my experience in the industry, as well as talking about different things that go on in cybersecurity so that I can hit different levels of understanding for both consumers and for businesses. I get asked a lot. I'm interested in starting, what is there to do? So I started with that premise in mind, but also with the idea that consumers feel like they're safe and the Internet of Things is here to help them, but it's also very detrimental to their cybersecurity. So #Hacked gives them 10 tips to protect their personal and business information. And also on the website, thehackedbook.com, there's additional bonus tips as well as images, full color images, print ready for people that are reading the book. I've included many diagrams inside of it, and a lot of people appreciate the value that's inside the book, understanding why is it that we're not getting as far as we want to in improving cybersecurity.
So can we get from you, say, the top of those 10? What is the would you consider the top tip?
Sure. Don't use public Wi-Fi.
Don't use public. What about with a VPN? Would that be okay, or is that carry some risks, or do you find that a lot of consumers and small business folks that they don't really understand the concept of a VPN?
Yeah, the VPN is a struggle for a lot of people. If it's built in and it's automatic and it's been tested by your IT, your cyber team, that's a different story than trying to hook it up yourself. The main problem with VPNs is people think that a free VPN is going to protect them. Well, free VPN is the furthest thing from protection all around, because the data comes out on the endpoint to get to the internet, and the people that own that equipment record all of your data and all of your actions. So you're giving it away to the attackers while you think that you're protecting yourself.
What is one of the first rules in business? Nothing ever is free. There is always a cost to something, and that's a really good point. And I'm glad you brought that up. That I wasn't expecting public Wi-Fi to be the answer to that, but it's a good discussion point. And even further about, while you were talking about how setting up VPNs can be very difficult in some ways, that is excellent to point out, because my first thought was, well, I use public Wi-Fi all the time, but I have a VPN service that I pay for. I won't say what it is, but it isn't one of the free ones, and there's certain guarantees built in as far as like security and how it's routed and all of this and all that, and I feel comfortable with it. But I remember about 2 or 3 years ago, I was talking with my brother. He's older than me, and he asked me about, well, what would be one of the things I should do to secure my phone? Because he had an Android phone, and I guess his Facebook account was hacked. And I said, well, do you have a VPN installed? And he's like, VPN, what is that? And I think that's a pervasive thing. So you're right. We can't just automatically assume that telling folks to go get a VPN that they're going to know what to do, because to your point, they're going to go for the free stuff, figure it's just as good as the stuff they'd pay like $50 a month for or whatever. And then all of a sudden, their information may be exposed when it comes out on the other side of the pipe. And then they become victims of crime as well. So that's an excellent point.
Yeah, I have a high level of trust. I mean, I'm afraid of even paying for a VPN service because I don't know who's inside the environment working and supporting them. And just like with the SolarWinds attack, there were resources that were brought in to compromise the build server so that they could build backdoors into it. So I can't tell which VPN service is going to be best for you. And I hesitate at making any recommendations there because my reputation's on the line too. So if you're in doubt, don't do personal information or transactions, banking, email, dating websites, whatever you're doing. Don't do that outside the privacy of your home.
Right. And this is one of the functions I always say of the CISO and the virtual CISO is to provide the C-suite and the board of directors with enough and complete and current information on the threat environment so that they can make risk-informed decisions. But it's the same thing here with regards to consumers as well. I never recommend a particular product to any of our VCSO clients. I do recommend, though, that you should look into this because this is the risk that you might want to mitigate. You can mitigate it other ways. And to what you said, you can mitigate it by avoiding it. Just don't do that stuff on public Wi-Fi. That usually is the best way to get rid of a risk. You just eliminate the fact that it's even there. So
yeah, you could probably wait to do your banking at home, right?
absolutely, absolutely. And for me, sometimes I'm old school. I like to actually go to Teller Row. I sometimes write
I
checks every now and
appreciate going to tellers,
then.
and they enjoy the conversation that you actually have, you know?
And I was a former bank CISO, and I remember that after the banks started to open back up after the lockdown with COVID, but still having the masks in effect, that was always one of the big things with banks. Is just like you can never wear a mask into a bank. Well, now you have to,
I thought that
at
was the
least back
biggest
then.
oxymoron of all,
That
right?
was crazy. I mean, I wasn't a CISO at that point in time. I'd already left the banking world. But that was odd. But that face-to-face contact with the banks, I'm old school. I kind of like that. And sometimes you just want to do things the old-fashioned way.
Well,
Yeah, I
you
know.
can't hack paper, Greg.
Well, some listener is thinking right now, okay, boomer. Well, I'm going to just say, look, I'm not boomer. I'm Gen X. Okay. So but so the success of this book, it's been pretty successful from what I can tell. I haven't had a chance to read it myself. It is on my list of things to do. My list of things to do is like, if I can get through my entire list of things to do, I'm going to live to 140. So that's my goal. I just keep adding things there and I'll never die. But it was successful enough that you led the creation of another book, #Hack2. Now it's a little bit different than the first. So what's the difference there? And you had more contributors to it, correct?
Well, yes. As a matter of fact, as soon as #hacked was released, I had many authors coming to me. Actually, they weren't authors yet. They were cybersecurity professionals, and they were asking if they could be part of my next book. And did I have one in plans? So I had about 14, 15 people come to me and say that they wanted to contribute to the next book. And, by attrition, I was able to complete the book with 12 additional cybersecurity professionals, and a lot of them probably are well-known people, some that are on Forbes list. One's called Dr. Zero Trust. Another works at an odd-shaped building in DC that has 5 sides, and he talks to people with constellations on their shoulders. But I digress. So there's a wide diversity. Oh, and we even have our own lady that does sales and business development. So she talks about how do you sell cybersecurity. So this is an ideal opportunity to get people that are interested in joining the cybersecurity ranks to say, what can I do in cybersecurity? cybersecurity itself is such a wide field,
Mm-hmm.
and we need resources by the boatloads, like I said, about 5 million, to help us protect our country, because China's pumping out 5 to 10 million a year for attackers.
Mm-hmm. And there, the depth and the width of the field is significant, as you were saying. And that makes it a lot more confusing. And there's also other terminology that wasn't around when I first started in cyber. Well, cyber wasn't even around as a terminology when I first started in cyber. And all this like red teaming, blue teaming, all of that. We had
Purple
one.
teaming.
Yeah, we called it troubleshooting back then. It was just like, it may come from a different perspective, defending or just trying to get in, but well, that's good. And that's you can find that at the hackedbook2.com, right?
Thehackbook2.com or on Amazon. The paperback just got accepted for publication. The Kindle version's been out. We reached #1 international bestseller in less than a day
Oh,
on
that's awesome.
hashtag
Congratulations.
Hack2.
Uh-huh.
And we're working with universities and colleges to put it on part of their curriculum. So,
Oh, that's great. I mean, and fostering the next generation of cybersecurity professionals is probably the most important thing outside of protecting our own organizations that we as a cyber professional community can do.
correct.
If you're looking for another author for hashtag hacked3, give me a holler, because I write as well too. Have a
Greg,
couple of items out there.
send me an email. I'll put you on the list. We're already collecting authors for Hacks3.
Oh, awesome. But it'll be hashtag hacked3, right?
Oh, yeah, you caught me there.
Well, it is a little bit harder to say, but I've got it in my brain now. Well, a lot of things going on. So consulting, helping folks with their cybersecurity posture there, and also with the writing endeavors, and of course, being an entrepreneur. All this can be very, very stressful. And I preach to our community that it's so important that sometimes you need to step back, because you can't be effective in your cyber job, whatever it is, unless you're taking care of yourself as well. So what's one of the things that you do to decompress?
One of the things I do is I cook for my family. Like I said, I have 6 kids. 3
Uh-huh.
of them are still in the house living with me. And they appreciate the food that I cook. So that's really interesting. We like to travel too. My favorite place is in the Caribbean. I'm not going to name names because, you know,
Yeah, no, I
social
understand.
engineering is a thing nowadays, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so from your family's perspective, what's the favorite thing that they like to have you cook?
Probably flank steak, because I marinate it for 3 or 4 hours before I put it out on the grill to cook it.
I know as a kid, always used to joke when my father said it's like, oh, meatloaf is for dinner tonight. My brothers and I would be like, oh, meatloaf, oh, that's horrible, horrible. But he actually made a very good meatloaf. It was just sort of an inside joke that we had at
They
the
like
time.
my ribs too, because I slow cook them as well.
So, what time is dinner at your house, and what are the directions?
I'll send
uh,
you GPS coordinates for your smartphone.
Pittsburgh's a little bit too far from Franklin, Tennessee. Future plans you already are thinking about hashtag hack3. So you got the hashtag again. Other future plans?
Yeah, we're doing an equity crowdfund right now for IT security solutions to um, allow people to invest in our new product called It's Safe. It's Safe is a zero trust security appliance to help fill that gap of 5 million cybersecurity professionals for business. And it blocks the attackers that today's tools can't see.
How does well, I can't ask that without you giving away proprietary information.
Look,
So
there's too many 0-day threats, right?
right.
Every day a new threat is announced as, hey, this was a 0-day threat.
Well, where can they find out more about the crowdsource funding and the product itself?
So we have a website. It's called its-safe or itsafe.com.
Okay.
And on the menu bar is investment opportunity. There's also a video. You'll see my picture on the webpage homepage. And we describe how we're protecting businesses in a cyber attack.
That's great. I'm going to go out there after this recording. So that's it's its-safe, its-safe.com. And again, the books can be found on Amazon and also at thehackbook2.com.
Or thehackbook.com.
Or thehackbook.com as well. I love the fact that thinking outside of the box to help the cybersecurity posture of businesses and individuals, like with all these different initiatives. We need more folks like you out there thinking that way. So really appreciate it from an industry perspective.
It's my honor, Greg. I mean, as a service disabled veteran, I continue to serve my country.
Well, I should have asked in the beginning, what branch did you serve?
I served in the Navy. Thank you.
Okay, I was Air Force, and I was not in IT though. I was a mechanic on C-130s. So
we need mechanics just as much as we need IT people or cyber.
Well, I remember one time during the Gulf War, I was inspecting a plane that came in, and it had a hole in the top of the wing. Nobody knew about it. And when I reported it, they're like, "What are you talking about, Schaefer? A hole in the wing?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." But that's for another podcast story at sometime.
I can't wait to hear it, Greg.
Well, listen, Albert, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on today. Appreciate all you're doing and your time on today.
Thanks for having me, Greg.
And everybody, stay secure.